I'm going to start the recording, and I am going to start with a few slides of my own. And I want to remind everybody that if your mic is on, we can hear you. So I've got everybody muted, I think.
Not yet.
The first thing I want everybody to see is how to turn on the captions. This is for people that came after I have given you instructions. That was before 2 o'clock. So in the control panel, there's a CC button. I want you to click that. And then you're going to see a menu pop up with 3 things on it. One is show subtitle. So that will turn it on. If you'd like to make the subtitles bigger or smaller, you want to click on subtitle settings. This is what you're going to see when you, if you have a PC, this is what you're going to see. You can slide this back, slide back and forth to adjust the size. So I hope that's helpful. Okay, very quickly, here's some help with some Zoom features. Over here, let me just get my, over here, if you can follow my mouse, here is a picture of a microphone. If it looks like this, your microphone is on. If it has a red line through it, it means your microphone is off. This is a toggle. You click it to turn on, you click it to turn off. Next to that is actually something, it's a little, here's my little arrow. This is a little arrow pointing up. It's a little upside down V. And you can use that to test your microphone and if you're having issues. Next to that is a picture of a camera. This is where you start and stop your camera. So if it has a line through it, your camera is turned off. If you have, if it looks like this, your camera is on. If you need to step away, talk to family, you might want to turn your camera off as well as your microphone. There is this little blue arrow points to the little, what I call a carrot. It's an upside down V. It's very small. That adjusts your video settings. Okay. I know we have a lot of new people that have never been here before. So here is the raise your hand. So when you open up participants, you'll see this raise hand. This is what I want you to use when you have a question. So right now, I'd like to see how many people can raise their hand. Thank you, Maxine, George, okay, Earl. Okay, it looks like everybody's doing it. So then there is the chat icon. This is where you open chat. You can also submit your questions in the chat box. I'm sorry, I'm reading the messages over here. This is a good place to put your questions, especially if you think you might not remember it during the Q&A. So this is where you put your questions. So either raise your hand or put it in the chat box. Okay, next. There's something called, there's different views. There's the speaker view and the gallery view. Right now, I believe you have the gallery view, so you can see people along the side next to the share. But if you only want to see the speaker, so you have a little bit bigger picture, you want to click on speaker view. And I upgraded my Zoom program today, and this is the way it looks now. If you haven't upgraded, you may have a slightly different view. This is what it'll look like when you upgrade. Okay. Before I move on, I want to say that I'm Toni Berrien. I'm the president of the Hearing Well Club. I, like most of you, I'm a person with a hearing loss. Just by coincidence, I have a Widex hearing aid, but on the other side, I have a cochlear implant. So I know what it feels like to be a person with a hearing loss. Since the beginning of the pandemic, we've switched from in-person meetings to virtual Zoom meetings with a presenter meeting on the second Tuesday of every month, 2 o'clock, except for July and August. So we plan to have additional informal meetings. So you need to get on my email list if you want to get the notices. So when you registered, you were asked if you wanted to be on the email list or not. So I will pick up those people who said yes, and those people are on it. Well, you're already there. Yes, Katie, please do that. Thank you. And watch the mute for me. Katie Wright is here from the Long Beach chapter, and she's helping me co-host. And I also want to thank Deanna Baker, who is from Arizona, and she is our professional captioner. So thank you, Deanna. Widex is a sponsor for this meeting. They're the presenters and the sponsor. Let's see. But we also have another sponsor, and that's Caption Call. Caption Call actually allows us to they pay for the captioning. And they've been doing this since the beginning, since 2013. They've just been wonderful. So we really appreciate it. And I know Deanna appreciates it when she gets paid. They, Caption Call, I want to tell you, many of you have Caption Calls. Some of you don't. If you know somebody who could benefit from a captioning telephone, but they don't have internet, they're saying no internet, no problem. They will provide internet for your Caption Call phone. So please, if you know somebody hard of hearing, no internet, this is the way to go. Telephone number is on the screen. You can email them at support@captioncall.com, and you can contact me, and I'm happy to put you together. So this isn't for you. You've got the internet, but this is for family. Maybe you've got a grandmother, somebody that needs, could benefit from a captioning phone. Please let them know. Okay. I need it. Big thanks to Amazing Hearing. Ann Mundell Noel has been the audiology advisor for so many years. Laura Hunt has joined the practice, and we just love them. Hear Now USA does hearing loop installations for your home, business, and community venues like churches, synagogues. So that's the place to go. This program is for informational purposes only. The Hearing Well Club does not recommend products or services. Please see your audiologist for advice on what is right for you and your hearing loss needs. Okay, I think if you have any questions, please email me at info@hearingwellclub.com. Our website, hearingwellclub.com. And that is it. I'm going to stop sharing. Okay, I now Also, during the presentation, we have some polls. We're going to ask you to answer some polls. And the polls are going to pop up in the middle of the screen. And if you would just quickly answer, you only got about 20 seconds for every poll, maybe 30. And when everybody's had a chance to answer the poll, then we will show you the results. That's the fun part. Okay. I would now like to introduce you to your guest speakers today. The easy name is Eric Hancock. He's a regional sales manager in Southern California and Hawaii. Yay, Eric. Where are you, Eric?
Hi, everybody.
Hi. And Dr. Jody.
Dr. Jody's good, Tony. That's good. I have a pretty long last name, so Dr. Jody at Widex is perfect.
Oh, wonderful. Dr. Jody, I love it. Thank you so much. So one of you is going to be sharing the screen, and if you'd like to get started,
okay, perfect.
Do that.
Here we go. So welcome, everybody. Hopefully you can see my face nice and clear. I have a special light that casts on my face so that you can see and hopefully as well as hear me. I just wanted to thank Tony and the group down in Southern California, and I do believe we have some other members from other California HLAA chapters in our state. So welcome everybody, and thank you for joining us on this great Zoom call where you can get some education in a safe manner as we all continue to social distance. Some of you who would like more information, we have a website that I have here on the screen, www.widex.com. If you would like to have more information or you would like to see additional videos about the technology that I'm going to be talking about today. I am an audiologist at Widex. I also am a mom, and now that my kids are at home going to school, I am half-time teacher as well as a chef. So I'm learning all of these new skills as we are here with COVID. And part of my role at Widex is to talk to consumers about technology and also talk to consumers about hearing and hearing conditions and any additional things that are related to that, like cognition, like tinnitus or ringing in the ears, and also technology that can connect to hearing instruments today in 2020. So part of the educational information that I'll share with you today will encompass all of that. And like Tony mentioned today, if you have some questions, you're able to either raise your hand with the bottom area or just type it into the chat, and then we will make sure to address as many questions as we can towards the end of the presentation. So again, my name is Dr. Jody. I am one of the audiologists at Widex USA. We are a brand of hearing devices. And more importantly, as an audiologist, I am a daughter. Both my parents have hearing loss. Both of my grandparents on both sides had hearing loss. So hearing loss definitely is a part of who I am, and likely what decided for me to be in the field of audiology to continue to help people of all ages hear their best. And again, I did want to give a shout out to Ann Mundell, who is an audiologist and a consultant with the Laguna Hills group down here for the Hear Well Club, as well as Dr. Laura Hunt, who has just joined the practice. So those of you in the Orange County area that want more information in general or need to get your hearing checked, this is a wonderful, wonderful group of audiologists there down in Southern California. So Tony, if you are able to launch the first poll, I did want to get an idea of who we have today on. Looks like we have 72 people joining. So you guys should see a little box that popped up on your screen. And there's a couple of questions that I was interested to know. One, do you think you have some hearing loss? Number two, do you currently own a hearing instrument or a device? And number three, if you do own a hearing device, I'm curious, how many hours a day do you wear them? So Tony, looks like we have some people logging in and casting their vote. That is fantastic. Good job, everybody. And Tony, I don't know if we want to wait till maybe a minute or so, and then we can close the poll and share the information.
We've got about 10 more seconds to give
Okay.
people a chance. This should be a really quick and easy poll.
Yep.
Okay, we're gonna end the polling now. Thank you, and I'll show you the results.
Perfect. So 98% of you said, yes, I have some hearing loss. 96% of you said, yes, I do own a hearing instrument. And then we have a little bit of variation for how many hours a day do you wear them. Over half of you said at least 14 hours a day. About a quarter, or 26% of you said between 10 and 14. And then we have under 10% that said about 8 to 10 hours. And then a couple of you have said, I don't wear them daily, or that are 6 hours and under. So thank you, Tony, for doing that. That really helps to guide me of who is logged on today. So you are all understand, because you all have some form of hearing loss, that you're having to live life today with that. And also in terms of using your instruments, obviously as an audiologist, as long as you have good working hearing instruments, we want you to wear it as much as you can, because that helps have a continuation of that brain stimulation. So part of the goal today that I wanted to talk a little bit about is, in 2020, what are the educational points that I can share with you today? How does modern updates in linking hearing loss and cognition, what is some of that information there? As well as what has happened with us wearing masks. So face coverings, right? So if I put that on my face right now, all of a sudden my voice may seem a little bit more muffled, and then all of a sudden it takes away the facial cues. So face coverings and face masks helps us all be safe, helps keep everybody else safe, but it definitely adds now an extra layer to the challenges of communication. Even if you don't have hearing loss, that adds a whole nother layer of a communication barrier that I'll talk about. And of course, we'll talk about the new Widex Moment hearing device that has been launched over the last 2 months. So you get an idea of what kind of hearing instrument technology is available and out there for you to try today. So all of you have some form of hearing loss. So a lot of this may be sort of, not new to you, but yet in terms of how many people in the US have hearing loss, that continues to climb. Over 48 million people have hearing loss. That's over 20% of Americans. And we know that over 40% are people over the age of 65. So in terms of, understanding that regardless of COVID, regardless of age, we know that hearing loss and the incidence of hearing loss continues to occur. And we are also seeing younger patients, younger individuals also coming in with hearing loss. If you look at this graph in front of me, that age group from 18 to 44 makes up almost a good quarter of that group who has hearing loss. And I think all of you know the signs of hearing loss, right? You can hear, but you can't understand. There's a lot of what and huh. We all are used to looking at people's faces to not only understand a little bit better, but get a little bit more information. It's much easier when you can do some lip reading and facial cues. And other, some of us maybe are turning up the volume of the radio or the television. Maybe a couple years ago you were at 27 of the bars and now you're at 50. That's a good indication that your hearing might have shifted and you need to get it rechecked. Or maybe you're wearing instruments, and many of you are, and you're still having trouble. Maybe it's still unclear. People still sound a little bit muffled. Those are times to get the hearing checked as well as your instruments checked. So what about cognition, and what do we learn now? We do know now that even a mild hearing loss can equate, a mild untreated hearing loss can equate to a 7-year decline in cognitive function. So we know those two are connected in some way. We know that when you have hearing loss, that increases your risk of cognitive challenges or cognitive decline. And then we also know that in general, hearing loss, it isolates you. You tend not to go out and you tend not to communicate. And even now with COVID, as many of us are at home being safe, that isolation factor can really play a role in how that impacts our cognition and our health in terms of our cognitive health. Helen Keller said it best, where she says blindness isolates us from things, but hearing and hearing loss isolates us from people. So it's wonderful that we have tools like Zoom to be able to still connect to people, even though we aren't able to be there face to face. And we do know that even if you have a hearing device, maybe it's not working as good anymore. And so you may be avoiding, communication with other people. It may be harder to hear on the television or on the phone. So those are, if you're noticing that you're having some challenges with those kinds of communication, it may be a good opportunity to get that hearing checked again, as well as getting your hearing instruments checked out to see if they're working the way that they're supposed to. So Tony, if you're able to go and do poll number 2, we're going to segue into a different section here. So everybody get ready to answer some of these other questions. So poll number 2. So in what situations are the most frustrating for you? And you can select as many as you need to, but currently for everybody who is logged on, what situations are the most frustrating for you currently? So again, that box pops up on your screen. Go ahead and select 1, 2, all of the above, because this is the reality of, I think, how we are living today, right? So what is the most frustrating? Social distancing, people wearing masks, people wearing masks and the fact that you can't see any lip or facial cues anymore, maybe facial shields that people are wearing, and then listening to people speaking behind plexiglass, like at the grocery store or at other public spaces. So it looks like we have 75% of the votes in. Tony, do you want to share those results? Perfect. So based upon who has joined today, the majority of you said people are wearing masks and face coverings is the most frustrating and difficult for you today. A close second is the fact that you cannot do any lip or facial cues. And then third is plexiglass. Fourth is the distance. And then fifth are the face shields. So that definitely reflects and you can stop sharing, Tony, now. So all of us, in it together, I think takes on a whole nother meaning. All of you, majority, had said it's people with face coverings, right? So it's people who are wearing the cloth masks or other masks to keep everybody safe. And yet we know that is a very, very difficult thing to maneuver. Next, I wanted to segue into this situation. So most of you had said masks and facial coverings are the most difficult. And so if you ever thought about why that is, yes, it covers lip and facial cues, but what some of you may not know is that there has been a study done, multiple studies done over the last couple of months here in the US. And what they found is the average face mask reduces or turns down speech by up to 10 to 12 units of sound. And that's quite a bit. So again, I'm going to repeat that. So face coverings, different kinds of masks, can reduce or turn down speech, make speech softer by 10 to 12 units, or what we call in audiology 10 to 12 decibels. And that reduction of speech happens right in the area where a lot of you start having your hearing loss. So it's a double impact. Not only do you have hearing loss, but then the mask makes speech softer and also makes speech more unclear. So that has been the challenge. And of course, we cannot take our masks off. Otherwise, we have some health consequences to that. But knowing that, then you may want to decide on, doing more FaceTime calls with a loved one, or maybe doing more Zoom with a loved one or a friend, because if you're doing Zoom, we can take our masks off and we can still communicate and read the lips and the facial cues. Instead of, of course, seeing somebody face to face is always warms everybody's heart, but we still have to do it with a mask on. That will all of a sudden impact how well we understand speech. The modern hearing devices today actually have ways to create a mask program. So you can actually change your hearing device so that it can actually work a little bit better for people who are wearing masks. And all those of you who wear Widex, there's a really nice and easy way that you can do that from the comfort and safety of your home. So we'll revisit that in about 5 minutes. So we know that, why can you hear but you can't understand? We know, and more importantly, why is it harder for many of us in noise? When you get older, you actually require a louder signal or somebody to speak at a little bit of a higher intensity or volume than than your typical, let's say, 20-year-old or 30-year-old. So we already know that in noise, the more that we can control the background noise, the easier it is for us to listen. We also know that the brain actually needs more information as we get older. The brain needs more information either from lip cues or facial cues in order to understand what has been said. So you can hear, but that higher task in the brain of understanding as we get older, we need more pieces of that conversation to understand the conversation or what's going on. And we also know then if there is some cognitive challenges that some of us may have, that's even going to make understanding that much harder for us. So even the best hearing instrument cannot overcome if we have some cognitive challenge or cognitive difficulties. So we know that the brain ultimately is where we kind of put hearing into listening. The brain is where we take sound, right? And then interpret that into meaning. We also know that the brain is really good at filling in the gaps. So you typically, when you're listening to me right now, you don't have to hear 100% of what I say. You can actually miss a couple of things and still get the gist of what I'm saying. So I'd like to do an exercise with everybody.
Lost the audio. Lost the audio.
Let's see. Oh, can everybody hear me?
Yes. Now, yes.
Okay. Tony,
Wait.
I still hear you on mute.
When you turned on this slide, you got muted somehow.
Oh, it muted me. Okay. Thank you, Alejandro, for letting us know. So I want you guys to, don't unmute yourself, just say it to yourself. What are the dots? What are the colors of the dots? Okay, from left to right. And as quickly as you can. So here we go. Okay. So, Tony, I don't know if you're able to run the poll, but I just wanted to get a gist of how many people thought that was easy or hard. So Tony, I think you turned your camera off. You might have had to step away. But again, I'll put the little dots up there again. Hopefully all of you found this to be a pretty easy task. So from left to right, you should have easily said red, blue, green, yellow, unless you're colorblind. So that should have been easy. So now let's start making this a little bit harder. Okay, so now I still want you to say the colors, but now you're going to see words on the screen. So from left to right, say out loud the color that you see. Are you ready? Here we go.
Yep. Green, red, white, blue.
Okay, so you're going to say the color of the word. Going to say the color of the word.
HARDE, green, when, red, over, white, and blue.
So now you notice that it might have seemed a little bit harder, right? Because now there's words and then you have to identify the color. So it should have been green, red, white, and blue. But yet now you're having to look at, your brain is having to look at actually the word. And remember, I asked you just to say the color, okay? So this is all about how the brain has to work harder when you're in real life, when you're looking and listening and comprehending all three things. Now we're going to make it one level harder for all of you, okay? So same thing, I want you to say the color that you see from left to right. I don't want you to say the word, but I want you to say the color that you see. So here we go.
Green, blue.
So again, I want you to say the color out loud, not the word. And some of you might have taken a couple of seconds to do that, but it should have been green, blue, white, red. Yep. But your brain's thinking, no, I see the word red, but I don't know why you're telling me green. So there's this mismatch, right? There's this sort of trick. So our brain and what we do for communication is always having to do a multimodal or having to do multiple things at once. And the reality for any hearing system that is out there is we already know there's a lot of distraction and distortion associated with communication. At Widex, when we're creating hearing systems, we don't want to add an additional distortion into your hearing system. And we work really hard to make sure that the signal and the device that is delivering correction of sound to your ears and ultimately to your brain can be as clear as possible, because we know your brain is doing other things simultaneously. Good job, everybody. So all of you probably have some form of either sensory or neural or both. So part of your hearing organ has some damage, and then maybe part of the hearing nerve or somewhere up between the ear and the brain, there's some damage along that pathway. And it can vary from person to person, and it can vary from even ear to ear what kind of hearing loss it is. But it typically is, for those of us who have hearing loss, it's typically in the inner ear and or portions of the hearing nerve. And that will really cause distortion that is embedded and part of our hearing system or our hearing loss. So we have 20,000 hair cells, right? That is in a good, healthy ear, a good, healthy inner ear. And we're born with 20,000 of those. And over time, because of noise exposure or medication or trauma to the ears, those hair cells kind of die off, kind of like stepping on the same patch of grass for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. The grass doesn't come back. They have not figured out how to regrow hair cells in a human being's ears yet. They can do it in some animals, but not in human beings yet. So when we get hearing loss, typically in the inner ear, there's parts of those hair cells that end up being either squashed or they end up just being gone. And that's that kind of red area here that I'm circling. So when those areas are gone, your brain no longer gets information about that area, and therefore you have sort of missing sound. It's like taking off keys on a keyboard. You can still play the piano, but it's not going to sound as rich and as full. So in terms of just what can you do, because the hearing that you have, you want to protect. We know that noise exposure or being exposed to too loud of a sound can be very toxic to the ears and the listening system. We know that over 11 million people are exposed to really high levels of noise in the workplace. And now so many people are wearing headphones at such high levels that we're also seeing some people being exposed just because they're listening to their music at way too loud of a level. So you still want to protect your hearing. If you're out mowing your own lawn or leaf blowing like I do on a weekend, wear your hearing protection and protect the hearing that you do have left. So again, sound gets collected from the ear. Many of you know, right? Sound gets collected from the ear, goes through the middle ear system, through the inner ear, up the nerves, and up into the listening areas of the brain. And all of that takes milliseconds in order for your brain to convert hearing into listening. And that is the challenge with all of us is, yes, we can hear, but how can we make sure you understand, right? So we all know, I think, that, when you get your hearing checked, we check different pitches. And that's specifically because that's where the English language lies, the vowel sounds and the consonant sounds. And that's why different people who have different shaped hearing losses can hear certain areas, but other areas is maybe more challenging. So a high pitch or a high tone hearing loss typically happens where it starts reducing or cutting out the consonant sounds. So the S sound and the H and F sound, somebody might say, let's go fishing, and you might hear something about wishing, right? So either you're talking about fish or you're talking about the wishing well, two totally different conversations, but yet just a change a little bit in those consonant sounds. So that's why having some hearing difficulties can be challenging, because it's not like you can't hear. It's just certain parts of the word ends up being missing or ends up being not clear. And that's what good modern hearing devices are there to boost up. So Tony, I don't know if you are still here. I can't see you here on my screen. If you are, Tony, I wanted to launch poll number 6 if you're able to do that. And you're muted, Tony, but hopefully you're still able to launch. And if not, then we can just, okay, perfect. So poll 6, many of you are currently wearing hearing instruments. So I would like to know, how would you rate your hearing instruments today? Excellent, good, fair, poor? And then the second thing I'm interested in for all of you logging on today is, what's most important to you when you're looking to purchase a hearing instrument? And you can pick, just more than one thing. Is it better hearing and noise? Is it rechargeability? Is it natural sound? Is it the price? Is it Bluetooth? All of those things are now incorporated into modern hearing instruments. So good job, everybody. Keep the votes coming in. So again, go ahead and indicate your answers on the poll. What's most important to you? And then also, you know, how do you like your current instruments today? So we're at 55%, Tony, at responses. We're looking pretty good here.
Come on, let's get a few more people in there.
So we're at 75% responses. Good. We're just gonna maybe a couple more to hit 80%. So if you're currently wearing instruments, how would you rate them? And then what's the most important to you today if you're looking to purchase a hearing instrument? Perfect. We're right there, almost at 80, right, Tony? If you want to share those
Okay,
results.
we're going to end the polling.
Perfect.
Share
All
the-
right, so majority of you said really good. Your current instruments are really good for you. Over 54% said great. Almost a quarter of you said excellent, you love them. And then there's a handful of you, 21% said, it's okay. And then there's 4% of you that said poor, you don't like them. So the majority of them said good or excellent. And then we have about 25% that said meh, okay, or I'm not so happy. And then when those of you who answered question number 2, what's most important to you? Most important to all of you, majority of you, is hearing better in background noise. That was the number 1. The number 2 is hearing and understanding on the television. And I wonder if that's because of COVID or we just all are watching in general a lot of TV. That's great. And then 3rd looks like is price and cost. As well as natural sounding. So it looks like natural sounding eked out a little bit over cost, and then Bluetooth and streaming to other devices. So by far, it's still hearing and noise. Oh, I'm sorry, and then comfort. So a quarter of you said, yep, it needs to feel good on my ears. So you can see that, and Tony, we can stop sharing the results there. So I can see, and hopefully you can see, that there's a lot of things that go into looking at a new hearing solution if you are looking for a new technology, and that's part of what I'll talk to you about today with what's new in hearing technology. So next we'll go here, and I'll just do a really high level showing that in the past 20 years, all of the technology that you see here on the screen has basically been replaced by a smartphone and a set of hearing instruments. So it's pretty amazing that, we don't need the landline phone. We don't need the boombox. We don't need, VCR tapes. I don't think my children even know what those look like. And now we've really replaced all that tech with something as tiny as a smartphone in our hand, which is pretty cool. So if you're looking for new hearing devices, when is a good time? And it's if you're currently still struggling to hear, if you don't like how they sound, if you're still having problems in background noise, if you still have problems using a telephone, either landline or cell phone, maybe you've stopped wearing them altogether. And I think there's a handful of you that said you don't wear them very often. Those are probably a good time to look at new instruments. So a little bit about Widex, and then I'm going to play a video for you about the new technology. We are a Danish company. We are headquartered outside of New York on Long Island, but our mothership, if you will, is in Denmark, right outside of Copenhagen. And we are one of the greenest companies in terms of tech that you'll see out there. We have a big windmill. We have solar energy as well as geothermal on our factory campus, and we actually create more energy than we use, which is pretty cool. That over 60 years, we're able to really lead the industry in hearing and hearing instrument innovation, but still be very, very kind to Mother Earth, which is really cool. So next, Tony, I'm going to play a video, and those of you, if you don't have a good internet signal, this might be a little choppy, but I'm going to try to play the video nonetheless so you can listen to the new technology. And Tony, this is where we would turn off the captioning because the video is already going to be captioned. So we'll go from here. So you'll learn a little bit about the new Widex Moment as I play the video. Okay, here we go.
Welcome to the most natural sounding hearing aid ever. Introducing Widex Moment, a hearing aid that processes sound so quickly that for the first time in a digital hearing aid, distortion caused by processing delay is eliminated. So now, all you'll hear is a pure, natural, and engaging sound. A sound preferred by users in real-world tests. Not only the most pure and natural sounding hearing aid ever, but also the smallest rechargeable lithium-ion hearing aid of its kind in the world. Discreet, convenient, and with a portable, easy-to-use charger. Now you'll always have the power you need to stay connected in the moments that matter most. We've also worked hard to ensure that Widex Moment is as durable as possible. An advanced nano coating keeps moisture away from key areas of the hearing aid, while new stainless steel receivers allow for a smaller design that fits into more ears than ever before. And with direct connectivity to the Widex Moment app, users can access the power of SOUNDSENSE Learn and real-life insights, so they can get a better, more personalized sound in any situation. Widex Moment. This sound changes everything.
So part of what we wanted to share with you today and part of the Hear Well Club is just kind of knowing what technology is out there in 2020. So we just launched at Widex, we just launched a brand new hearing instrument called the Widex Moment. And it's the smallest rechargeable instrument on the market to date. And I don't know if you can see my ear and the little tiny wire, but this is the rechargeable that is now on my ear. This little tiny instrument here is the smallest lithium ion on the market to date. So it's a nice tiny light device that fits up and over my ear. And we have it in different styles for those of you who might have a different style of instrument, but this is called the receiver in the ear, where there's a tiny little wire and a receiver or speaker that goes in my ear. And then on the back of my ear here, there is the instrument with the different microphones on there. So what's so great about this is, number one, it's the most natural sound on the market today. It's finally a hearing aid that doesn't sound like a hearing aid. We were able to increase the sound delivery up to 10 times faster than other products on the market, which makes the product much more natural sounding, much more clearer sounding to people who have tried it. There's also a learning feature where the hearing device can start learning your unique environment to try to boost the sounds that you would like to hear. So there's a nice, really nice focused personalization component that's embedded within the chip now. And because our hearing device can connect to an iPhone or even an Android phone, the nice thing about that is as the technology gets updated, we can update the chip in the hearing device so that we can keep the technology running as optimally and as positive as we can with the new Widex Moment. So it's a really nice small package. It's rechargeable for people who would like that rechargeability. It comes in different styles, and it also comes in 4 different levels of technology, knowing that for many of us, price is something that we want to consider within a purchase of a new product. So we have different styles, bigger or smaller. We have lithium ion for rechargeability, and then we have the customs that go in the ear for those of you who prefer that type of style. The little rechargeable is a nice little cute guy here. If you see my video, live video screen, this is how big the charger is. And the charger is really convenient where you pop the hearing devices into the charger just using magnetic charging. And in as short as 4 hours of charge, the hearing device will charge up to 16 hours of battery life. So the nice thing about if you want rechargeable and you want the ease of rechargeable and you don't want to change batteries anymore, you have the smallest case. So it's small on your ear, but yet you get a really robust amount of charging just for 4 hours of charging on the product. Very, very durable. It has very, very high ratings for moisture resistancy as well as dust and earwax. We have an earwax system to remove wax as you need to get there. Most people just say, hey, Dr. Jody, I want to put a device in and forget about it. So the automaticness of our devices can go between listening to music, riding in the car, being at home in a small group versus watching TV. The hearing device can sense where you are and can modify the hearing device to support wherever you are in terms of your listening needs. Maybe you're out walking, it's going to recognize you're outside and you're taking a walk. And so that's really when people will say, you know, hey, Dr. Jody, why is there a price difference with hearing devices? Typically, the higher you go in technology, the more sophisticated the automatic becomes. So the more sophisticated, the less you have to maybe manually do. In the past, some people had to change programs in order to hear it at home or hear a background noise. The higher you go, the hearing device can actually take over a lot of that automation and just automatically recognize, oh, you're listening to music. Let me go to a music program. Oh, you're in the car. Let me go to a car program. Oh, somebody's speaking in the car. Let me go to car plus speech. So as you go higher in technology, the automaticness becomes more robust, and that's basically a lot of what you're paying for. In addition to the audiology's services, you're also looking at how sophisticated is that hearing device. The other thing that's really great is most hearing devices, if you choose to turn that part on, is you can download an app. And the app, you're able to increase sound on the fly. So if you find maybe you're watching a show and you're like, wow, I really can't understand that accent. And if you want to, do an extra speech boost, you can actually do that on the fly with our app instead of having to call the audiologist and ask for some programming changes. So in addition to that, Widex has a very, very laser focus on making sure that we will help boost speech and make speech more clear, especially if you have people who are wearing masks. So we have a nice wide sound window, and we are very, very dedicated to clarity and minimal distortion. That should help you with understanding, even when people are wearing masks, the Widex signal processing, because our sound window is one of the largest on the markets, should help you be able to listen and hear with a lot more ease than before. So this is an example. If you have a Widex hearing aid at home or an instrument at home, or you're planning to maybe, do a demonstration, our app, you can actually do some really cool adjustments on our app. And this is an example of if you take out our app and you boost the treble. That treble is typically where all the consonant sounds are. The app will allow you to save a program, and you can name it whatever you want. So this is the most popular, is people will do a mask program where there's a little speech boost to overcome all of those face coverings. And then you can save that in your app. So that way, if you go out to the grocery store or if you go out and visit with some friends who are wearing masks, you can immediately go to your Widex app and hit mask, and it'll automatically give you that really nice speech boost that many people are looking for. The other thing that people have really loved is there's a learning feature of our hearing device. So if you launch it, you can, there's a learning feature right there at the bottom of our app called SOUNDSENSE Learn. So let's say I'm at home and I'm having trouble hearing my family. You can launch the learning feature. It's in real time, going to give me 2 examples to listen to, just kind of like when you get your vision tested and the optometrist starts flipping the lenses. We're doing something similar, but from a hearing perspective. We're giving your brain two different options to listen to. You tell us or tell the app what sounds better. After a couple of clicks, then if you found your sweet spot and you're like, oh, now I hear my family good, you can save it as a program. And now you have a family program in your hearing aid. So the nice thing about hearing devices today is if you want to engage and make the hearing device adapt more to your environment, you can actually launch some tech features or these easy tech options to teach the hearing aid, I like this one better than this one, and the hearing aid can remember in the app. And remember if you have maybe different TV settings that you like, or maybe you have different conversational settings that you like, and it saves you the trip back and forth to the audiologist and allows you to have a lot more hearing flexibility. Now, Tony mentioned to me that she uses her T-coil a lot, and I know there's some looping or there's some areas in your community that have what we call a T-coil or a loop where you can turn that program on in your hearing aid and be able to link in. Of course, we can't go to theaters yet, but when we are able to go back to theaters, there are lots of theaters that are looped for hearing people with hearing loss. So you can get a T-coil embedded in your hearing device if you would like. There is also a little device from Widex that you can buy if you wear Widex hearing aids to add the T-coil in it, and that's within our little FMDEX accessory. You can turn on the T-coil that's embedded in that. So let's say you have a tiny Widex hearing aid that doesn't have a T-coil in your ear. You can buy a little jumper device called the FMDEX that has the T-coil in it. Some of you who maybe are doing more Zoom, you can use the Comdex here, and that will connect to your laptops or your iPads via Bluetooth, and that will help you link directly to make phone calls and Zoom calls and other audio much easier from your other devices. And then we also have so many other accessories that people have added on to over the course of COVID. So maybe they want a little bit extra boost, so they're using a TV system that we have. Or if you're like me, I have terrible cell phone service at home. And so I'm actually using a landline phone. And if you do need a landline phone and you can't hear on your landline phone, Widex actually makes a really nice phone system that connects to Widex hearing aids that actually puts the phone call into both. So if you have a Widex product, you can actually add any of these accessories at any time and make your communication that much easier. Last but not least, I did want to touch a little bit on tinnitus or ringing in the ears, because I know many of us have that, and that may or may not be associated with your hearing loss. So we know that tinnitus is, many people of all ages, young and old, have some sort of ringing in their ears. And if you wear a Widex product or you're considering to get some relief from the tinnitus, Widex has a program called the Zen setting or the Zen option, which is a really beautiful, relaxing set of chimes and musical tones to be able to offset or help with that tinnitus or ringing in your ear. All of the Widex products have the ability to turn on the Zen option if you have challenges with tinnitus that's bothersome for you. In addition, in terms of the Widex Zen, regardless if you are able to afford a premium Widex or an entry-level Widex, the Zen is always available. You just have to talk to your audiologist to turn that part on. And in a lot of patients and users, they have found some relief in their tinnitus by using that Widex Zen option, which is really, really easy to use. And it's just a matter of either pushing a button or going to a setting on your hearing device. So what I would hope today is twofold. One, we learned a little bit about masks, and we learned a little bit about how to overcome that with understanding that if we can't, read lips, that we find ways to maybe boost our hearing device in the high tone area. Your audiologist can actually help you create a mask program. If you're wearing Widex products, you can actually create a program in your app to help with mask coverings. And in terms of just overall wellness, our hope is that you've learned a little bit today about cognition, about hearing loss, about tinnitus, and more importantly, about new technology. So if you're not happy or if you're looking to see improvement in your hearing instruments, that you can call and talk to your local audiologist to listen to the new Widex Moment product to see what that has to offer for you, and if that's something that's going to improve your daily communication. So we want you to, you know, maintain and keep an active lifestyle, keep learning, which you all are doing today, stay independent, which is always very, very positive, stay engaged, stay social, keep that brain nice and active. And we know hearing has a lot, and good hearing and good listening has a lot to do with that. So reduce your stress, you know, find ways to reduce your listening effort, good hearing devices, good communication strategies, asking loved ones to be able to communicate a little, you know, slower and clearer with you is going to be a positive thing. So thank you for coming and getting educated. You know, if you do have any more questions, please reach out to your local audiologist. Those of you down in Orange County, you know, Anne's office down at Amazing Hearing is a great resource, as well as a place to look at all the different accessories and hearing devices. And then if you're looking to, you know, to demonstrate or do a listening journey on a new set of hearing devices, schedule an appointment with your local audiologist, or go to widex.com and you're able to find your local Widex provider there. So again, a big thank you to Amazing Hearing with Anne Mundell and Dr. Laura Hunt as audiologist. And then I also wanted to thank the HearWell Club and HLAA in California for giving us the time. So Tony?
Yes, I'm going to have some questions. So Maureen, your hand has been up almost since the beginning. Would you like to ask your question?
I think it went up when you asked us to put the thing up, and I don't think it went down. But I did have a question in the chat.
Okay.
If I'm the only Maureen there.
Okay.
I'm wondering if with the Widex, I was wondering a couple of things. Do they have a model that is only in the ear and not over the ear with the wire?
We do.
I cannot tell you how often taking my mask off and the hearing aid goes flying.
Yes, yes. So two comments on that. Yes, Widex makes an in-the-ear model. If you want in-the-ear and Bluetooth, we do not make that technology yet. So that would be something you can talk to your audiologist about. The over-the-ear or the over-the-ear style that I showed you, what we've had a lot of patients do is modify the mask that they have. So you're not, you know, all of you are wearing hearing instruments. You're not going to use the elastic that goes up and over your ear, because as soon as you take it off, those hearing aids are going to go flying across the room, right? So the masks that you can tie above the ear is a really great thing. Or Tony, I don't know if the HearWell Club talked about like the little clips that will clip below the ears, but they have clips that go on the back of an elastic mask that you can clip below your ear instead of having it clip over the ear. So that way you can still maintain the style, the over the ear style that you are wearing. Tony, do you want to add to that?
Yeah, I would like to ask one other part of the question. And the hearing aids I have now, I have my living room T-coiled so I can hear the television.
Okay.
So, and I don't know if yours allow that at all levels.
Yep. So there is a T-coil in different styles that are available in all levels. So Widex has always believed in giving everybody the same access to sound, regardless if you can afford a premium or if where you have to enter is at the entry level or basic level. We have a T-coil option for everybody in different styles. Yes.
And does that also allow for Bluetooth with this Android phone?
So in Android phone, in our newest Widex Moment product, we've built a brand new antenna in there to work with newer Android phones. And so the brands are, I don't know if many of you are familiar, but it would be like a Google Pixel phone or some of the newer Galaxy phones by Samsung. Those have the newer antennas that will line up with the newer Bluetooth hearing aids.
Okay, those are my questions. Thank you very much.
Yep, you're welcome. And if you don't have the newer Android phone, then we have a little neck loop jumper called the Comdex that will connect to any Bluetooth, new or old, that you can actually do some streaming through your ears as well.
That answers Carol CJ's question, who wanted to know about a telecoil. So the answer is yes, but the teeniest ones, if that's what is appropriate for you and what you want, you probably need to use a little clip-on microphone that provides the telecoil. So the telecoil is essentially available in all the models, but one of them might require a little clip-on.
A little jumper piece.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's see. Here's another question. I've never had this one asked. How well does, this is Naomi Epstein. How well does it recognize the difference between classical and popular music?
Yeah, so Widex has been known for music since the inception of the company over 60 years ago. Musicians or people who love to listen to music have a very keen ear. So we've spent many decades at improving our music recognition algorithm. So the current hearing devices get exposed to hundreds of sound files, and then the engineers check to see, did it categorize different music a certain way? So if you're listening to Beethoven or different classical music, it has an acoustic signature that tends to highlight the really high pitches like the piccolo and the strings, all the way down to maybe the bass and the drums, versus like contemporary music tends to have kind of more mid-tone. Those of you who listen to Celine Dion, or I'm from Hawaii, so one of the more popular pop music, his name is Bruno Mars. He's kind of like the newer version of Michael Jackson. That kind of music, it has a more character, kind of rock pop, more bassy. So we've tested our hearing device to recognize more contemporary music because it has a certain what we call acoustic or musical signature. And the engineers keep on working at the algorithm to make sure if different contemporary music plays, that the hearing aid goes, you know what, this is more contemporary. Let me boost a little bit more mid-tone. Let me boost a little bit more bass so it sounds more robust. Then for classical, most of us want classical to hear the full range of that and hear when the piccolo comes up, or hear when, you know, the clarinet or the tuba plays. And so it takes hundreds of men and women hours for the algorithm to be looked at for that.
Okay.
Thank
we only
you.
have a couple more minutes, and so we need to get through 2 questions pretty quickly. What is your price range?
Yep, so hearing devices can start at the lowest end, and again, it depends on the audiologist and the practice and the value and the services that come with the practice. It can range at the low end, probably anywhere between, I would say, $1,200 an ear, all the way up to potentially, you know, $3,000 to $3,300 an ear. So obviously, most of us Yep, so most of us have hearing loss in both ears, right? So at the highest end, it can be maybe as high as $6,000 or more. At the entry level, it can maybe be around, you know, $3,000, sometimes, you know, a little, you know, $3,500 for both. So part of that comes with, in most audiology practices, a lot of that comes with all of the service, all of the follow-up. It's all included, so you're not having to pay every time. And it also comes with a lot of other counseling or rehab checking for wax. Most audiologists in the state of California are able to do some light wax removal. So you'll have to talk with your local audiologist about their specific price and their programs for hearing instruments.
Okay, this is a yes or no.
Yep.
Does Widex work with iPhones?
Yes.
Okay, the next question, because we have to get through quickly. Can you substitute batteries if the electrical charge doesn't work because of a power failure?
Yeah, we've all had some rolling blackouts. So if you get a rechargeable system, all of the systems to date typically will have rechargeable only. You cannot take the lithium battery or the rechargeable battery out. So what many people are doing is buying an extra battery pack, a portable battery pack. You can find those for $5, $10 at even a grocery store now. And those little portable battery packs can plug right into the back of hearing aid chargers. So that way, if you do lose power or you do want to go hiking or do different things, you can take your external battery pack and be able to charge up not only your cell phone, but also your hearing devices at the same time.
I think somebody's been looking at the website and they've seen that all the different models that you have, and one of them is called Social. What does that mean?
That just means from an automatic mode, the hearing device can actually know and modify if you're in a small group, a large group, or a really large group. So it's part of the automatic navigation of the hearing aid. It just recognizes, hey, you're around a dining room table, let me maximize hearing for that, versus, hey, you're at home by yourself and you're only watching TV. So acoustically, the hearing device always scans your environment and tries to change automatically to a setting that's going to support your listening need at that moment.
Dr. Jody, thank you so much. I think we have come to the end.
Perfect.
Yes, we've come to the end of our captioning time, and I don't want you to be cut off. So I want to thank you. And Eric, you were very quiet. Eric, did you want to say anything? Can you say hello?
I just wanted to say hello and say thank you to everybody. I'm sorry. I'm having to mute a cartoon for my son. Just wanted to say thank you for the opportunity to be on, to you, Tony, and also to all the members of the Hearing Well Club. Jody, Dr. Jody has a great presentation, and hopefully everybody found some useful information today.
Yes, and Jody, can you show us your slide again or provide your email address just in case people still have questions?
Yep. What I would do actually, Tony, is I can share with you a couple of things. One would just be the website where they can, your members can go and learn a little bit more. And then ideally, because I am not their audiologist, if they are able to call their local audiologist to find out more information, that might be a better option, because I don't see patients directly anymore. So.
Thank you so much. I want to thank you. I want to thank Eric. I want to thank Deanna Baker, our captioner, and Katie Wright. Thank you for co-hosting and watching the microphones. And thank you all for joining in. I really hope you learned something. That's the whole purpose for these meetings, is so that you can get better educated and make good choices. Thank you very much. I'm going to say bye-bye to everybody.
Be well, everybody.
Bye, everybody.